Welcome in to the DNVR Avalanche podcast. It is the final day of Spirit Week here, a diehard day. We've got Biggie and Rudo coming to you live. As we pulled our Discord, we talked to our diehards, asked them for topics for today's show, what they wanted to hear us talk about. And we got a handful of topics that we'll get into on the day, Avalanche, or at least, mostly hockey-based for the most part. For the most part, it's hockey-based. There's some fun ones in there, too. Before we dive into those, though, a little bit of news for the Avs. The Avs do sign Jason Poland and Matt Steinberg to extensions, 1-year deals each, so they will be sticking in the organization. Both of which likely depth call-ups or still prospects in some regard, depending on however you want to look at it. Steinberg does still have to serve a suspension at the NHL level at some point, so that's a bit amusing. And then Poland has been a guy who's gotten a couple of games both this year and last for the Avs. So good to see them keeping some pieces around that could be functional for them.
Yeah. I mean, those signings were, Steinberg being a draft pick, but kind of, if you remember, it went past his senior year. So Poland, UFA, college free agent. Both of them probably signed to be depth guys. And then what you make of your career after that, it's on you. That's up to you. Both have made some strides. I thought Steinberg made some big strides, adding PK to his game. They're trusted by Bednar. Really made some happen. Again, like you said, unfortunately, he's got to serve his suspension. But, they both made some strides and progress. Both going to be, brought upon to, fight for a spot or be a call-up, and you go from there. So what you do with it, like I said, it's up to you, and you create your opportunities, and we'll see what happens.
Yep, I don't know. My expectations aren't particularly high for either of them. I think realistically, they're a call-up option at best. I don't think they even really have a great chance to make the Avalanche out of camp. But it's at least there is interest from the Avs, right? At least these aren't pieces that are just ending up unsigned and out of the organization entirely. At least you can hope for something to be there over the next couple of seasons beyond just guys like Ivan or Taylor McCarr is the new shiny in the system in the AHL. So there are a couple of other pieces there that you can at least look at and hope for the best. We'll put it to you that way. Anyway, I guess technically there's more news too. The Avs did announce their preseason schedule, which is nothing particularly interesting. It's the same three teams they always play. They split all the games with them, and they starts on September 21st. If you care, that neat. I don't have a ton else to say about preseason, so
it's such a simple thing when you look at it. Again, we'll get in that topic later. Way too many preseason games, useless. They are what they are. Hopefully that'll be the next thing. Like remember I was saying last year, don't forget about decentralizing the draft, and let's worry about the preseason games. You know what I mean? How about that? And then the draft, leave it the way it is. It's awesome. The preseason games, they're not. But with that said, you're right. It's the same three teams, but it's been done months ago, and you just got to make sure that everything fits in the puzzle with the league and all that kind of stuff. But believe it or not, it's easy. Until it's not easy, until you have a team that makes a switch and decides to go somewhere, then you're chasing, and oh my God, what a nightmare. But seems to have gone fairly easy for the Avalanche the last few years, and so it is what it is. 6 preseason games.
Yep. They mean nothing. That's not true. They mean a warm up for the players. The results of these preseason games always have meant nothing. Will always mean nothing.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Don't overthink it. Put it to you that way. Plenty of topics to get into from our diehards, though, so we can jump into some of those. We'll just start off with our title here. Who do you think are the most fascinating teams this offseason with their ability to either sign free agents, make trades, or just who got the most interesting offseason ahead?
My number one team is Utah. And meaning, like, I'm not saying I like them or don't like them. I'm saying they got a boatload of money. And you have an owner that's trying to do it right. An ownership, I should say, sorry, that's trying to do it right. Many are linking them to Marner, with that big payday. I can see it. I can feel it. How many years, should I say, can you be on the cusp, of jumping in the playoff scene? At some point, like you have to. Jobs are on the line. I don't care how many draft picks you got. At the end of the day, no one is celebrating right now around the league that they got 13 draft picks coming up. No, they're celebrating because they won the silver thing. And at the end of the day, I'm all for draft picks and everything. It leads you to something. But when it's been years and years and years, at some point you gotta produce points on the board, and you gotta jump into playoff dance. So I would say that's probably an intriguing team. And then no further than yesterday, just because of the comments and just because of the logic behind it, I'm gonna say Edmonton Oilers. I'm just gonna say it. Because of McDavid, like July 1st. And I know he's saying, it's no rush. I got news for you. Wayne Gretzky got traded a couple times. So at the end of the day, it's a reality. And, what are they going to do on the goaltending front? Because, it's all tied in together. I don't care what people say. It's tied in. So those are two teams I would be, paying attention to, and always lurking behind a little bit. My third one would be the nemesis, the Vegas Golden Knights. When it comes down,
they're always doing something, man. They're always doing something.
And I have to tip my hat to George and the crew there, because whether you like it or not, they're always going after something, and they're always trying to transform their roster into the winning one. So those would be my 3 teams. What do you got? What do you got?
Columbus. Columbus is by far the most interesting.
Good call.
They missed the playoffs by 2 points, and they have $40 million in cap space this offseason. Some of that does have to go, re-signing a few guys. Obviously, the Johnny Gaudreau situation is horrible, and it still sucks. But will they have that same push of wanting to do it next year? It's kind of lightning in a bottle in all the wrong ways that they pushed for the playoffs this season. But they have tons of money. If they rocked up to the offseason and said, hey, Mitch Marner has $16 million, would he say no? Who knows? So they could go out and get the pieces.
That's the type of team too, and I've seen it, and it does happen. Again, different circumstances, but Salina, Korea. You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden, Marner and one of his guys, represented by maybe the same agent, I don't know, and then they make something happen. You know what I mean? Like, hey, let's both go to Columbus, because they got a gazillion dollars to spend, right? So I like Columbus. I do. It's one of my sleeper teams, as you know. I would definitely look into that for sure. You're right.
If you want another, I really don't know that any contending teams are going to be super interesting. There's a lot of teams that are just doing a bunch of cap juggling and trying to sort things out right now. But I do think another interesting team for maybe the opposite reason of Columbus, who I think is on the up, is what is Pittsburgh going to do this offseason?
Yeah.
it's not like they don't have money. They do have a decent amount of cap space to work with. They don't have a ton of guys to sign, but they were awful last year. I mean, that team was pretty disastrous when it comes down to it. Um, obviously they're stuck. It's Malkin's last year of his deal this season. Crosby has 2 years left. Sure seems like Crosby doesn't want to leave, but also, is that team really going anywhere this season? There have been talks about them trying to sell guys like Brian Rust, who has 3 years left on his deal. So they could be open for business. I'll put it to you that way.
Yeah. And then they went young with Dan Muse, right? When I say young, inexperienced. Of course, he's got some assistant coaching experience, a little bit at the NHL level, but NTDP. Does that mean like a youth movement? Maybe. I mean, maybe that's in the plans. You don't know, but certainly an interesting choice. But look no further than the Avalanche. I always go back in the day, but Mark Crawford was an interesting choice, and 24 months later, they won the cup, right? As Avalanche. So, been weirder circumstances than the hiring of Dan Muse that everybody raves about, by the way.
Let me take this conversation and sidetrack us for a second here. Do you think the average hockey fan overrates or underrates the effect of a coach on the average NHL team?
I'm going to say overrates. You know what I mean? God, if you're well surrounded, good assistants, the work's going to get done. Obviously, you can't do it by yourself. It's too much work. If you think coaching is not you, but if players do think that, that you have the schedule of a player, then you're in for a rude awakening. It's a lot of dirty work. It's a lot of work, and the longevity is not there, right? So you're probably packing your bags within 24 months. So I think it's a little overrated because the X's and O's are the X's and O's, and I think any coach would tell you it's their therapists, their friends, their fathers, their uncles, their big brothers. You know what I mean? And that's, you're talking about 23-man roster. You're talking about 7 to 10 immediate staff, from coaches to equipment to medical. So you're playing the role of all that, and I think that's underplayed a little bit, where the X's and O's are over. Whatever you call that, addressed or overreacted a little bit in my book. So again, it's a game of reaction. Hockey is a game of reaction. Like I always say, it's not football. It's not a playbook. You have to react and you have to figure things out. And you can beat it to death to some guys if it's not going to get through their heads. You have the wrong personnel. And you could have the best coach in the world, and it's just at some point the rubber's going to meet the road. It's just not going to get through, right? So I think it's overreacted.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Like, you can do a great job as a coach. I think Jared Bednar does a great job as a coach of implementing a system that fits what the Colorado Avalanche want and need. But the coach isn't playing the games, right? Jared Bednar has Nathan MacKinnon. You could play just about any system, and Nathan MacKinnon is going to do pretty all right out there on his own, right? He's just that good of a player. Whereas if you go somewhere else, if the best player on the ice for you is Jonathan Drouin, like it was for a few years in Montreal there, no offense to Drouin, great player. If he's your best player, you're not winning. It's just what it is, You can only do so much with what you have.
I agree. I mean, that's, and again, you're talking about a question right now, an assistant coach there, not to change subjects, but you saw Steve Spott, right? Go
to Boston.
You had brought it. Yeah, great power play guy. Spotter, great coach, great assistant coach. That tells me that DeBoer probably not going anywhere. You know what I mean? For the time being, and Steve being an assistant coach, he was Landy's coach in juniors. Going to Boston. So, yeah, I'm not – I mean, again, we know it's not high note. We know it's not Schneekloth. Those are two guys that we felt could have been in the position to be talked about, and I'm sure. I mean, again, I'm sure they were discussed, but they weren't the ones called upon. I'm not sure who it is. Sometimes all you have to do is look who's still playing. You know what I mean? Like, so there's still the American League. So I don't know, Manny Malhotra that's in Abbotsford. Is it I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there. So, or you would think it would have been announced by now, but Boston, I get it. They were the latest team to add Marco Sturm last week, so I get that. So I mean, the Avalanche, who knows? I don't know. We'll
Surely they have a list, right? I can't imagine
Yeah.
they've let all this pass them by without having some idea of who they want for that position. So,
for sure. If you're letting go two guys internally, that you haven't had any in and out positions in 8 years, really, till Ray was hired back then, right? So it's like there really hasn't been anything internal, and now you must have your head set on someone. I mean, that's the only logical thing that I can think of. So,
yep.
That's the only answer I can give. Yeah.
Well, my answer is we got to pay some bills. So let's make sure we get over and getting that done. As we are brought to you by Cake Mortgage. Cake Mortgage is the business owner's home mortgage partner. Look, if you're a regular employee at a company like me here at DNVR, you get a W-2. Your income shows on your tax return. Traditional lenders love it because it's simple, it's straightforward. But it's more complicated for business owners. By maximizing legitimate business deductions and expenses, business owners can reduce their taxable income and keep more money in the business. This means that their tax returns show little income. Most lenders don't understand this type of complex income, so they get denied for home loans and refinancing. And that's where Cake Mortgage comes into play. Cake can get business owners approved by validating your cash flow through bank statements, certified profit and loss statements, or business tax returns. It's great for creative professionals, contractors, tech entrepreneurs, business founders, freelancers, and anyone who eats what they hunt. You can go get with Cake Mortgage today. There's a link down in the description to get started. Make sure you click that. Let them know we sent you over there. Cake Mortgage Corp. Equal housing lender, NMLS number 1734623, licensed in Colorado by the Division of Real Estate. Terms and conditions apply. Once you get yourself set up, maybe finding yourself a new home, maybe you also need a new car with Toyota. The official vehicle of DNVR is Toyota. They're also the official vehicle of the Colorado Avalanche. So jump in. They're durable, built to last, and of course they've always had trucks as part of their DNA, but they have all sorts of vehicles for everyone. RAV4, 4Runner, you name it. They've got a vehicle just for you. Whether you're conquering off-road trails or hauling the weight of the world, there's a Toyota truck that's right for you, including the 2024 Tacoma and the return of the iconic Land Cruiser. Go get with them. 16 different vehicles with hybrid or low emissions, the most of anybody out there, and 17 different vehicles with all or four-wheel drive. So Toyota cars will take care of you. Make sure you're getting out to your Front Range Toyota stores, including AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, again, the official vehicle of DNVR. Let's go places. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast on the amazing Diehard Day, the last day of Spirit Week. I do want to shout out our partners over at Big Brothers and Sisters of America. We've been raising money for them this week. We did break the $10,000 mark across all of ALLCITY. So good job. Happy for you, everyone that helped support us and donated. That's super awesome. There you go. Tiff's got the sound effects for you. We do want to do more, though. You can still give. You can still donate. There should be links in the description, or if you're watching this post live, there should be a little sidebar thingy. It's on this side, I think, that will have a link for you to donate. Of course, it's a great cause. Big Brothers, Big Sisters helping out kids all across the country. They've been doing it for a very, very long time. If you want to give to a great cause, consider doing so, or even consider becoming a big over at bbbs.org/ALLCITY today. All right, let's jump back into some more diehard topics. This is the stuff you guys wanted to hear about. So when I make you sad, this is on you, okay? Most interesting what ifs of this past season, E. You got one locked and loaded? Because the easy one is, what if Mikko signed in Colorado? You're muted.
like I said, I'm muted because I don't want to go back down that lane again. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to cry, and it is what it is. But yeah, what if Miko was there? That's the only one I could think of. That's the logical one. It's what kind of playoff run would you have had? You know,
Yep.
not taking anything away from Nietzsche's, from Jack, from anything, but that would be the what if. But I understand the business side of things, and again, I'm not rehashing, I'm not going back, but I certainly understand why they did it and how it happened. So, but that is a big what if, and then another big what if, but a more happy one. It's what if Gabe Landeskog never came back? You know, it would have been a
Yeah.
freaking sad thing. You know what I mean? It would have been sad and go, are you kidding me? He's not coming back. We'd be talking about like, wow, he's retired, right? Because there's no way he would be making a comeback next year. Not a chance. So, yeah, who knows? That would be the good and the bad right there. So, all good on my end. What you got?
Regardless of Miko, the other one, what if the Avs could close out a playoff game? You score a game and you score a goal in overtime, or you don't blow that game 7. Look, no offense to Winnipeg, I think the Avs are beating that team. So you get a conference finals of Edmonton versus Colorado, and we know what happened in that series last time. The Avs went out and got the goalie, and Edmonton didn't. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I
and I'll add to it. Like I do believe, and I remember I said they were going to win in 5, but internally I was telling Avs in 4. If you remember, I do believe if
Yep.
they score one power play goal there at the end of the game, and remember they had a little power play in overtime. I'm talking about game 2, not game 3 with the 4 minutes. They score that one, they win the series in 4. I'm convinced of it, so that's a big what if.
Yep. Those are the two big ones for the Avs. Outside of that, I would say, what if Edmonton actually ponied up for a goalie for once? Would they be Stanley Cup champions right now? I mean,
Yeah, I do
I
believe
think
that.
there's a possibility of that too. So those are my biggest what ifs. Nothing too crazy, but I think those are some of the biggest possible changes. Our diehards just like pain, apparently. Our next topic, talk about the era of pain. Just sit around the table and go, remember Fader Tootin? Um,
Good dude. Good dude.
I I would say the Avs organization, Avs fans have been very lucky. The Avs era of pain really isn't that bad when you compare it to other organizations, other teams. Obviously, 16-17 was an absolute unmitigated disaster. That season in a vacuum, truly horrible. But the Avs' bad era, which is roughly from 2008 through 2017, still included multiple instances of making the playoffs. Even their bad seasons outside of 16-17 weren't that bad. They just weren't a playoff team. So, yes, obviously, I mean, the Avs came here and made the playoffs like 12 years in a row or something outrageous. So missing the playoffs was a surprise. Didn't feel good, but compared to an organization like Buffalo, the Avs era of pain really wasn't that bad.
It's tough. That's tough. Like I said, like Phoenix, you know what I mean? Like slash Utah. Like at some point, like it's a hard league, uh, but it's not that hard, right? It's not
Yeah.
Buffalo hard. It's not
You're
like
making a
there's
lot harder than it
some.
needs to be, for sure. Yeah.
I love Buffalo, by the way. I'm not. I'm not. I'm just. But man, it pains me. Like, and I'm at some point you're doing something wrong. I mean, you're doing something wrong. There's no way every year you can't turn it around. Like, come on. So yeah, that's painful. You're right.
I mean, really, I'm looking through it right now. And when you look at the Avs seasons where they played under 500 hockey, there's 1, 2, 3 if you count the 48 game season. So that one's a little bit weird because it was shortened. 4, and that's it. In nearly 30 years, they've had 4 seasons under 500. That's pretty good. It's pretty hard to complain too much about that.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah. We'll take it.
All right. We'll keep rolling. I want to ask you this one. You're stuck on a desert island with 3 people, a current player, coach, and GM. Who would you want to be stuck with?
Very simple for me. Player, Sidney Crosby. That. I got a lot of admiration for the guy. He was Sid the Kid to me, because I just got done and he came in and I just love the way he conducts himself. I love the way he thinks about the game. I love the way how he's got the fire when he needs to have it. So that'd be interesting to sit with him, and to spend some time on a deserted island with Sidney Crosby. So player, that would be him. GM, you said current GM, correct?
Does say current.
Yeah. Past, it's an easy one. Current is, I would say, I'll tell you why. If you're on a deserted island, you can bark at the moon a little bit because it's a little boring. There's not much to do. So I'm going to go Kent Hughes because he's the life of the party. He is so smart. He loves hockey. And oh boy, we would find a way to have a good time on the deserted island because he likes to have fun, like I said, but he also very intelligent hockey man. And, reminds me a lot of my dad a little bit when comes down to put the face on and got to do what you got to do, does it. So that would be my GM. And then coach. I was stuck on that one a little bit. Because there seems to be a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys I don't know. But I would say Mike Sullivan. I think he oozes confidence. I think he oozes like family. I think he's a BU Terrier. Obviously, I know him a little bit because he's kind of like my era. Played against him. BU Terrier for sure. But I don't know. I'd like to hear his experiences. How does he keep it fresh? There's because he goes places and he sticks a long time. You know what I mean? Like the last stint he had in Pittsburgh, and so that would be my guy that I'd like to, have conversations with on the beach on a deserted island.
I like the answers. I would go with Brent Burns as a player just because he's super outdoorsy and would be able to build us a shelter and maybe we'd survive.
Yes.
And then I would take the oldest coach and GM. I don't know which ones are the oldest. GM used to be Lou, but he doesn't have a job anymore. So, because
Jimmy, he's a president.
It's close enough. Either way, I would do that because otherwise I'm absolutely the one that is getting overpowered and being eaten when it comes time to survive because I'm not strong enough to take on those guys.
So you're gonna eat Lou?
It's him or me. All right. If it's not Lou, they're gonna eat me. That's what's gonna happen. Like,
I like it. I like to think of myself as a fillet for the animals, whatever. But whatever. I would say Jimmy Rutherford. That's it.
I'll put yeah, that's true.
Kenny Holland. Kenny.
I'm sorry if you're stranded on an island with me, we're not making it. I'm sorry, fam. I'm not useful. All right, it's not happening. All right, so.
Do we have internet? It's a big difference.
Yeah. Of all of us in DNVR, who would do the best on the show alive?
Oh, Naked and Afraid.
J Mike could probably be pretty good.
I'm saying Marissa.
Maybe.
Yaya would last 5 seconds.
Yeah, no, I think Yaya's pretty industrious. He'd be like chopping down trees and stuff.
I was gonna say he's like me, like no chance, but whatever. Yaya, I love you, buddy. We're good.
Yeah, I don't know. I would be last. I'll tell you that. I am not the outdoorsy
No.
type.
Me neither. I'd go for a swim and never come back. That's it.
I can barely swim.
Jaws.
So, okay, we got to take our second break here. So let's make sure we're doing that, and then we got some more topics to get into. As of course, we are brought to you by the Hall of Fame app. Look, hockey season might be over, but that doesn't mean betting season is over. And we've all been there trying to hit the big parlay. You're one leg away, and then someone messes up, whether it's the Rockies bullpen, giving up a walk-off home run, or some other tragedy occurs. That's what the Hall of Fame app is built to fix. You can jump in with them. Started by two lifelong sports fans who also happen to be Ivy League grads, they make parlay research smarter, faster, and data-driven. It's not your buddy's group chat with hot takes. It's an actual analytics engine that gives you access to advanced stats, historical data, and powerful tools to help you bet smarter. The app is built for the everyday sports fan, so it's easy and intuitive to use. You'll get an idea of your parlay's chances to hit and identify weak legs so you can weed them out before you place them. Whatever you're betting on, the app gives you beautiful charts, clean visuals, and real insight, and not hype. They believe anything the books know, you should know too, because parlays don't have to be dumb bets. Go get with the Hall of Fame app today. They've got a 4.9 rating at the App Store and over 6,000 5-star reviews. You can jump in with them. Our listeners get a 7-day free trial and 50% off their first month. For a limited time only. Get in on that deal. The 50% off the first month and 7-day free trial comes with code DNVR at checkout. So download the Hall of Fame app on iOS and Android or visit hofbets.com. Enter the DNVR code and you're all set with the Hall of Fame app. Once you got the Hall of Fame app up and you've got the good odds on your bets, make sure you're also getting with Game Time. FIFA World Cup kind of going on right now, by the way. Kind of a big deal if you're into soccer or football. We got some European fans, so you guys call it football. Close enough. You can get 10% off exclusive zone deals for the FIFA World Cup matches, as well as a bunch of other great deals through Game Time if you haven't used them before. Tons of summer stuff to do. You can go to MLB games. It's more than just sports, though. You can go to concerts, theaters, and more when it comes to the Game Time app. When you sign up today, you can get $20 off with code DNVR for your first purchase in the app. And of course, there's tons of ways to save, whether it's using the Game Time Picks feature, which will filter out the junk and only show you the best tickets for the best prices, or you can get last minute deals and tons of other options when it comes to Game Time. Game Time guarantees you the lowest price out there, or if you find tickets cheaper somewhere else, they will credit you with a 110% of the ticket price that you find. So go check it out. Those last minute deals can save up to 60% on buying tickets to whatever you're going to. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app today, create an account, and use that DNVR code for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but you can get the Game Time app with the link down in the description today. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast, working it through the diehard topics today. Let's live in a world where Edmonton blows it up. McDavid wants out. Are there any rosters out there that could take on McDavid and his next contract while remaining contenders?
Well, you're going to need some reconstruction for some guys, some teams. But, that would, some teams might, for example, Marner, forget that he's a UFA, but maybe last year they would have felt like, oh, we're not winning with him, so let's get rid of him. Let's bring in McDavid, right? I think you're going to hear a gazillion rumors about McDavid. Are they true? Are they not? I don't know. I think he'd be non-intelligent to see what the options could be. If I'm him, I sure look into it. But I wouldn't say that he's going to be in Edmonton as a lifer. I would be careful with saying those words. I think any team can figure it out, because if you have good assets and you feel that they're not adequate enough, you can just get rid of them and trade them if they're good assets. But if you feel internally that they're not the ingredients for you, to be the recipe for winning, but McDavid is, then you'll do whatever you can to, if you have good assets. So I think a good team is probably going to be a team that could land McDavid. I don't think it's a bad team, because I don't think he's going to go to a bad team. I think he has to see and map it out and say, okay, it's a team sport. We can win with this if we do this, this, and this, and that. So, yeah, I mean, I don't have anything in mind, a team in mind, but I think any team would be smart to look into their stuff, even if you're the Avs, you got to tell yourself, how do we make this happen? Right? How would
Avs can't make it happen. It's not going to happen.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you can. I'm saying you have to look at it and say, how could we make this happen? And then at the end of the day, if we can't, then just because we all know how they're constructed, right? With the high, Nate and then Kale and, things like that, right? So Mikko wasn't going to fit that 12. So at the end of the day, who knows, right? But I think a lot of team, like someone just said, like Buffalo for the laughs, you know what I mean? I think you owe it to yourself to look at it. You have to.
Most teams that McDavid goes to at least pushes them toward contention. But if we're talking about teams that would remain contenders, that are already contenders that could add McDavid, there's only really two in my mind. Ian said one of them in Carolina. They have the space for sure. It would get a little bit tough on McDavid's new deal to keep their defense together. Things might get a little bit weird there. But the other team, in my opinion, would be Florida. Look, if you flip the script, I know everyone wants to stay in Florida and all these players want to stay. But if Florida said, we're going to trade for McDavid and we're not going to keep Bennett, we're not going to keep Marchment, we're not going to keep Ekblad, they could fit McDavid on that roster and still be a really, really good hockey team, even with some of those players getting let go and taking on McDavid instead. So
it's weird because I'm older, and it's like, as a hockey fan back then, Wayne was an Oiler, and then all of a sudden he's a King, and you're like, huh? It was the weirdest thing. It was crazy, and it was like, what? But it's one of the greatest things that's ever happened to the league, right? With the expansion, in the South and everything. But at first you're like, wow, this is so ridiculous. This doesn't seem right. So it would be like that for the fan of this era. You see McDavid on a different jersey. You're like, Florida Panther? Really? So, yeah, it'd be interesting. But I think teams are going to look, and they're certainly going to try.
If he's actually available, it would be negligent not to at least give a call, right? So we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, if McDavid flips sides, the Oilers better lose to the Kings at that point. The Kings can't win with McDavid. Just fold the franchise, all right?
Yeah.
Keep it rolling here. I'm curious your thoughts on this one, especially. Being an Avs fan my whole life, Colorado has a pretty positive view when it comes to teams getting relocated, right? But if we assume Houston and Atlanta get a team in the nearest future, would you want the NHL to award them an expansion franchise or relocate an existing franchise? And if so, which franchise?
Well, man, that's a tough question. You want a relocation? I mean, just look at the history. I mean, the Avs are a relocation, right, from Quebec. Vegas is an expansion, and great market. I think if I'm in those cities, either or, because expansion rules are so much different than when I was playing, right? And we saw it with Vegas. Again, you got to say, well, but look at Seattle. Yeah. Again, they didn't really nail it like Vegas did. But they were certainly in the playoffs, like within, 2 years of their existence or whatever it was. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think it really matters. Now, if you get which one that could leave that's in trouble right now, I mean, people were talking about Winnipeg last year. I'm not saying they would have moved, but all the stands were not filled. And, you got to go and look at arenas that half full or whatever, right? Which is, there's not a lot, right? I mean, for all in all, like everybody seems to be pretty healthy at the moment. Phoenix was struggling, we all knew, because of the building, and it's gone now to Salt Lake, right? So I don't pinpoint one that I would say is one that would leave at the moment. It kind of stuck out like a sore thumb, the Phoenix one. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying because of the building. You know what I mean? They had all those issues with the building. Sorry, I don't want to sneeze. Pardon. The I would say it's more towards the expansion at the moment. Atlanta or Houston. You know what I mean? I think it's more on the expansion side of things, than a relocation.
Yeah, I know I just said Colorado benefited from relocation greatly, and while that's true, relocation should never happen. You are essentially lighting on fire an entire region of hockey fans every time you do that. It's bad for the sport. Sometimes you're left in tough situations, and that usually comes down to ownership. That's more or less what happened in Arizona. But it sucks for everyone in Arizona. It sucks for everyone in Atlanta that was a hockey fan when they moved up to Calgary first and then Winnipeg. It sucks. It's awful for those fans. Quebec is still upset about not having a team in Quebec City. So I would avoid relocation at all costs, at all times, basically. If I had to relocate a team to either Atlanta or Houston, to me, it would be Buffalo. And again, it just comes down to ownership. The Pagulas have created a disaster of a hockey team that has gone well past the point of being rotten. I don't know what's wrong, but something is wrong there if you had to pick a team. So
yeah, you're right. I forgot about that one. You're right.
And that is relocation because he's selling the team. If he's moving with him, then you haven't solved the problem. So
yeah.
It's what it is. Mr. Magic in the chat saying, friendly reminder, no team has won the cup with a player making over 10 mil. That is going to change. With the salary cap increases that are coming to the NHL, that milestone will fall over the next couple of years. I pretty much guarantee it. So
everything goes up, right? So
yeah,
everything goes up.
Is what it is on that front. A couple more topics to go through here as I have lost my list. Here we go. Who would win in a fight? A grilled cheese or a taco?
It's grilled cheese all the way. You know what I mean? I love both. I'm no stranger to food, but I'm a grilled cheese guy. Maybe because the only thing my wife, God bless her, Jill, love you, not a great cook, but 27 years married now, but the only thing I think she's ever made is a grilled cheese. She made a mean, she used to make a mean one when I was playing, so I'd be watching TV and be like, you want a grilled cheese? It's like 9 o'clock, and I'm like, oh, yes. So I'm going to say grilled cheese because it just hits the spot. I love tacos, but tacos is like the AHL, and then the grilled cheese is the NHL. And a hot dog is a sandwich. I agree. I'm convinced. It's bread with meat, so it's a sandwich.
It's I'd say it's close as long as it's a soft shell taco. If it's a hard shell taco, grilled cheese wins easily. Not even close. But a soft shell taco is basically just a grilled cheese plus, right?
Sure. We'll go hard shell is like, again, I like them. But NHL is like, you're getting a grilled cheese, It's
for sure.
It's NHL. You made it to the bigs.
But you don't need to convince me about grilled cheese. I love grilled cheese. So that is what it is. Is there any particular prospect you really want to see get a chance next year? In the AB system?
No, I mean, again, I don't think today where they're at in their development, that doesn't mean that's none of them are going to make a career out of it. You know, the Ivan Ivans and Poland Steinberg. Sean is in a different category because I think you have to put an asterisk next to him, Barons, right? Because he hasn't played, because of his injury. It will take time. And I wouldn't touch him this year. Honestly, I wouldn't touch him. I'd be like, hey, buddy, you go down there till February. We'll figure out after. Maybe you'll warrant a call up at that time, but don't get discouraged. Just go down there and play. It's a big step from college. It's also a bigger step now that there was an ACL thrown in there. So, but there's no one that I'm actually looking at. Taylor, McCarr, guys like that. I think it's guys that can throw in a couple innings, pitch a few innings right now. I don't think they have someone, Pishpishov. I don't think they have someone to make it out of camp and stick 82. Ivan, people thought last year. Yeah. I still think he needs time, and I still think he's going to play in the NHL. So this is not a downer on him. But to say that someone that's there currently that's going to make the roster and play 82, I don't believe so right now.
I'm with you. I don't think those options are really out there with the assets that the Avs moved out. Guys like Cal Ritchie aren't available to them anymore. Their two most successful prospects on the season last year were goaltenders in Trent Miner in the AHL and then obviously Nabokov over in the KHL. So those guys are coming, but you have Wedgwood and Blackwood. There's no room really. Maybe Miner gets some games because someone has the flu for a week or whatever, but that's their strongest position right now, I would say, in their prospect pool is one that they feel pretty confident about the guys they have in the NHL at. Beyond that, as someone did ask for a general prospect update, it's pretty thin. You can be hopeful for Taylor McCarr. You're hopeful for Sean Barons. You're hopeful for guys to make steps, but I don't know that they're actually all that close to making an NHL game today. We'll see when it comes to dev camp and training camp and things like that. Their prospect who maybe isn't on some people's radars that is maybe the closest, I would say, is Bardakov, part of the trade with New Jersey a couple years ago. But he had a very solid year in the KHL, a breakout year, some guy that you hope can adapt his game to North America and be a bottom six type guy for you. Historically, the Avs and Bednar have struggled to get quality play in the NHL out of those types of guys. But, for every guy that misses, every third one's maybe you get a Logan O'Connor type that understands the assignment and knows how to be that guy. So he would be someone to keep an eye on. You mentioned Ivan, Prishchapov too. You're hoping can take those next steps and be call-ups again this year. With any luck, the Avs won't need nearly as many bodies though this season. So it should be a tougher ask to get those guys in. Obviously, it ends up being topical with Poland and Steinberg getting signed. Maybe those guys on the list too, but it really does feel pretty thin, especially when you're looking at some of the unsigned guys. There's not a ton left in the Avalanche organization. That's just the reality of the situation, especially with Nabokov on his deal now. I don't have, if we're calling genuine prospects, Jack Ashan's 28 now. He's not a real prospect. I can't call him a prospect.
And his name with Bradley and, Bradley Gay. Those are guys that are coming in. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I'm not saying they won't be a player. Or the guy from the Rangers. What's his name? The big D there. He's on an American League deal. We talked about him yesterday.
Dufour?
Lindgren.
Oh, not
Dufour. Lindgren trade.
Yeah. I forget his name. Why can't I think of it?
Because you're the man and I'm not. And I'm having a blank right now. But it doesn't matter. Again, he's on an American League deal. But that doesn't mean that they won't play one day. Who knows, right? So it's just he was at Cornell, the guy you're looking for, but just having a blank right now.
Dude, I can I can't think of it. It's crazy.
But that's okay.
I gotta look it up. It's bugging me.
Kemp.
Thank
There you go.
Ian.
Ian. Thanks,
Oh,
Ian.
Jesus. You would
I
think I
didn't
would
look
be
at
able
Ian's
to remember,
comment.
but sure, pal. Sure. I mean, look, I want to be realistic, and I understand someone like a Kempf is not coming in to play offense for you, but this is a guy whose career high in points in NCAA is 7. So
Yeah, no, exactly. They're long shots. They're long shots. But you're telling me there's a chance, right? Dumb and Dumber. Yep.
there's always a chance, man.
Yep.
That's why you fill out your 50 contracts and you have a bunch of guys down there. It's sometimes it happens, but realistically, guys that could stick in the NHL next year in the Avs prospect pool is basically 0. You're hopeful that guys like Taylor McCarr take that step in that direction, but they're not going to be full time in the NHL next year. They're just not.
Yep. But you're right. Chuck's right, though. He's saying that I got grilled cheese on my mind, on my brain. Absolutely, because I was trying to figure out the other question you asked was how many grilled cheese, and that's what I kept thinking about. But I mean, again, I still think I can reach 20, but whatever.
There's a bar by my house that does like a ultimate grilled cheese challenge. Next time you're in town, are you up for it?
I'm in. Don't tell Jill though, but I'm in. Let's just go.
Me versus E on the grilled cheese eating competition.
Yes, I'm in.
Let's go. I'm down.
Beers and stuff, no. Grilled cheese, yes.
Let's. One last question, which is more for me, I suppose, than any. If as players were video game characters, who would they be?
That's you.
Would Kale, or no, I guess Mac would have to be like Sonic, right?
I feel like Mac would be like Serious Sam. He just nonsense.
I know, but he's so fast. I'm trying to think of fast.
He do go
Maybe
zoom.
Shadow. He's Shadow the Hedgehog.
Oh, he's nowhere near edgy enough to be Shadow. I feel like Natchez would be Sonic. Feel like that would line up well. Lehkonen would be like Ninja Gaiden, all right, with his good stick.
You have to name characters that Eric actually knows.
Pac-Man.
Don't
Who's
exist.
Pac-Man? Who would be Pac-Man?
Who's the eater?
You don't want my answer for Pac-Man.
Who's the eater?
Who is it? Who's the answer for Pac-Man?
I am putting this in the context of that this is a joke and I'm not being serious about it. So don't take it too seriously, chat.
We're just being super serious, chat.
Val Nichushkin.
Yeah, true. He's a hunter.
Pac-Man runs around munching pills.
I like Crash Bandicoot. That's a good one.
We're going to ruin AJ's trip right now, wherever he's at. He had to go somewhere warm, and Eric Robinson just signed. So
1.7 is not bad. 4 years is a lot, though.
Thank you for ruining AJ's weekend. What about Donkey Kong? Who would be Donkey Kong?
Landy.
Miles Will would be Frogger for sure. He's crossing that street. Chaos, man. Just go. You know what I mean?
That's a good shout. I thought about Master Chief for McKinnon for sure. You definitely thought about that one. Let's see. I'm trying to think of a couple other ones that are good. I can't think of anyone who would be like the Call of Duty characters. I guess Brock Nelson can be Captain McTavish or whatever his name was, just because he's an old war veteran.
Brock Nelson is specifically from the Medal of Honor series.
Yeah, they're from the like Civil War edition of Medal of Honor or whatever. I don't know. I have no idea for Taves. Devon Taves, I have no idea what.
I don't know, but you know what I was looking at today? I have an entire folder in my computer that is just Sassy Devon.
Nice. Logan O'Connor would be not the guy rolling it, but the ball from Katamari Damacy. Because he just rolls into everything and collects everything up. I think that's pretty much all I got. I don't know.
I used all mine right now. Donkey Kong
Yeah.
and Pac-Man. That's all I know.
This is good work. Nah. Kale is Kale McCarr in the NHL game. That's the only thing he can be.
I was gonna say Michael Jordan in the NBA games. I don't know.
There you go. Built different for sure. I don't know. I don't feel like I have great answers for that, but we did our best. We tried on that one. I'm curious your thoughts, and we answered most of the topics from our diehards. So last question or two here. Marchment goes to Seattle, 3rd and a 4th round pick. Pretty darn cheap for a guy. Yeah, it's only 1 year if they don't re-sign him or whatever, but that's not a huge price to pay. Thoughts on that deal?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, obviously
I do like
they're over the cap.
Brock Nelson as Luigi for some reason, actually. That's a good shout. Sorry to cut you off.
I knew Luigi too. I forgot about him. When you're trying to shed some salary, teams know that. They know you're in by. Obviously, Dallas is at, and then they sign Duchesne, and then, all of a sudden, some's got to go, right? I mean, because of the Rantanen trade, the Rantanen deal kicking in. Now, that sets the market a little bit. You know what I mean? A 3rd and a 4th, and nothing retained, and you're moving on from that. Miles Wood could be something like that, obviously, to a different little bit of an. Miles did not have the most successful season, but he's not at 4.5, right? So he's a little bit smaller number. I think Seattle's a good fit for him. They need players like him, Marchment. Again, we've been saying this for a few weeks now. 4 to 5, right? If you're in that range, that's who's moving. That's just the life of it. It's just the way it is. That's who's moving. So you got the perfect example of that yesterday. And sometimes it's not the real value of what you bring to a team. It's just the situation your team's in and you're in. And it kind of dictates a little bit what the market is.
It's going to be interesting. I do think Dallas was in a tough spot. They did not have a ton of leverage. I know our boys over at CHGO said Chicago should have been more involved in that market. They would have liked the Marchment there, but you can speak to this. There's a tax to be paid when you're trading in division, right? Teams do not want to go up against the guys that played for them. So it probably would have cost Chicago extra.
And it's common sense, I mean, if all of a sudden there's a team on the outside that wants, what you're asking, then why not do it there, right? Just less complicated, less headaches, less everything. And now, if you have no takers, no suitors, then it is what it is. You got to do what you got to do, right? But sometimes it's just easier to just ship them a little further than you would like in your own backyard. Absolutely.
Look, Seattle can just trade Marchment to the Avs at the deadline, right? And then we could do what they did with Mikko. Not quite the same caliber, but it could work out that way. Just saying.
Yep. For sure.
I know Marchment, quite penalty prone, didn't have a great playoffs, but would he not be awesome on the Avs third line in that roster spot they might have? Just saying. I loved his dad. We had his dad. I played against his dad. I love that family. Does he flop a little bit when you're playing? Yeah, sure. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, he's engaged in the game. He's the type of player I love, because he makes me think about him during the game. And it's like, what am I doing here? There's McDavid playing, Robertson, Aiskanen, Makar, and I'm talking about Marchment. You know what I mean? So
That's why I would take him on my team.
Yeah, definitely one of those love to have him, hate to play against him ones. We are headed into overtime here. Join us on the DNVR.com for all of our coverage as the conversation continues. Although I don't think it's going to continue particularly far here, Look, we're finally starting to approach some of the deadlines in 1 week's time. It is the round 1 of the NHL draft. We all expect things to happen for Colorado sometime in the next 8 days, I would say. I don't know that they'll do all of their work. Obviously, there'll be free agency after that, but we do expect the Avs to be active. So I don't know. Buckle up is all I have to say. There's likely stuff coming, and we'll see exactly what it is, exactly where the Avs step in and make their moves. But hopefully we have an active week, things to talk about related to Colorado. But
yeah, but everybody's doing their internal cleanup, right? You know what I mean? When I say cleanup, I know not bashing on the Marchments of the world. I'm saying, but everybody's doing what they need to do to get themselves open for business at the draft, which we all know that and the trade deadline are your 2 biggest moments to upgrade from within a date. So teams are going to do their internal shopping and whatever you want to call that, cleanup of their own franchise, and then position themselves to do a little bit more. So yeah, you tend to see some stuff happening here this week. Maybe the Avs will too. We'll see.
It's going to have to be in the trade market because the Avs don't have a pick in their top 100 this year. So the draft, not going to be that interesting. We will be doing a live draft show though. If you're a hockey junkie, or maybe you just want to hang out live with us expecting the Avs to make a trade, make sure you're tuning in for that stuff on Friday. We'll be live for the entire first round, and then we'll probably have a wrap-up show on Saturday after rounds 2 through 7. So make sure you're checking that out. We are done for the day. We appreciate everyone hanging out. We appreciate all the responses from our diehards. Make sure you become a diehard if you like what we do, if you want to support us, and you want the opportunity to get your topics into us and things like that. Discord's always fun and popping. You can join us in there. But that is it for today. We appreciate y'all. This has been the DNVR Avalanche podcast, and we will be back on Monday.
We all silly like the mayor.